Welcome to Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Arsenal Kids Podcast. My name is Madi and I'm joined by my co-host Ben. And it is great to have you join us for this episode.
It is great to have you here, listeners, for episode number 139.
Thanks, Ben. And what are we talking about in Arsenal Kids Podcast this time?
Well, Maddie, in part one, let's talk about the Champions League draws.
Draws? You mean more than one?
Yeah, we're going to look at the men's draw and who they face in their 8 league games, and also who the women are going to face in round 2 of qualifying. And then in part 2 of our podcast.
Let's take a look at how our men have gone on the international duty and which Gunners have been nominated for an award.
Okay, sounds great. And a quick reminder to you to help us to grow our Arsenal Kids community and not miss when we have new episodes. You can do that through telling other people about us, liking, reviewing and sharing our podcast with others, and by following us on social media.
We would love for you to join us on this adventure together.
We would indeed. And in the busyness and craziness of our 1-1 draw with Brighton, the end of the transfer window and the women's round 1 Champions League qualifiers, we neglected to look at which teams have been drawn for the men to face in the UEFA Champions League.
And remembering that there is a new format for this season.
You are correct, Maddie. Instead of the normal 6 games against 3 opponents within a group of 4 teams, all of the 32 teams are thrown into a league format where they each play 8 games, 1 at home and 1 away against teams in pots 1, 2, 3 and 4. I think someone said there was some crazy thousands of permutations as to who we could face and whether it would be facing them at home or away.
But the draw has now taken place, so Ben, take us through it.
Okay, well, rather than get bogged down in the details of who was in which pot, because ultimately that doesn't matter now, the simple sums of it are that the top 8 teams in the league at the end of the 8 games, they go automatically into the round of 16. The teams that finish 9th to 24 in that league of 32 then all play each other. I'm pretty sure it's 9 plays 24, 10 plays 23, etc., etc. And then that would be a 2-legged tie, and the winners also go through to the round of 16. Finish 25 and below, and your European journey will be over.
Okay, got it. But who are we going to be playing?
Okay. Our first European match day for the season is in just less than a week away when we play Atalanta away from home. Match day 2 for us is on October 1 when we host Paris Saint-Germain, also most of us know as PSG. Then on October 22 we host Shakhtar Donetsk before travelling to the San Siro on November 6 to face Inter Milan. We then head to Portugal to play Sporting Lisbon on November 26. We host Monaco at home on December 11 and also host Dinamo Zagreb on January 22 before finishing our league games with a tie away to Italian side Girona on January 29.
So a minimum of 8 European games for the season with fixtures all the way through the end of January.
Yes, there is a lot of football to take place this year, that is for sure. And I think overall the draw has probably been relatively kind to us, all things considered. There are a number of teams that could have been much tougher, but it is a European competition with all to play for in this new format in every match. So while they might seem easy on paper,
we know that the game is not played on paper.
Exactamo. It is played on the pitch, so we just have to make sure the lads rock up to each game and continue playing as we know they can, and I've got a feeling that we could go deep into this competition. And talking of going further in competitions, one we haven't done well at in recent years has been the League Cup. And I just want to note that we have drawn Bolton Wanderers from League One in the what is called the Carabao Cup, and that 3rd round tie is going to take place on September 25.
But next for the team, Ben?
Well, Maddie, next up for the men's team is a North London derby where for the first time in some, I think, 37 years, we're going to be wearing our away kit, not the red and white, because the authorities deemed our home kit to have too much white on it and it competes with Spurs' all-white outfit. But that is on this weekend, where after the international break, the men will return to Premier League action.
And what about our Women's Champions League draw? What can you tell us about that?
Well, Maddie, the women's team, they've been drawn against BK Häcken from Sweden in round 2 of qualification for the UEFA Women's Champions League. And that's going to be a tie that takes place over 2 legs. The first of those legs will be away from home mid next week at Bravida Arena. And then we're going to draw on the home crowd support at Meadow Park when we face them on 26th of September in the return leg. It's going to be a homecoming, though, for both Stina Blackstenius and Rosa Kafaji, who were both previously Häcken players. But a win over those 2 legs will put us into the Champions League proper for this season. So let's just focus on winning that, shall we?
Okay, well, let's leave it there for part 1. We'll be right back after this with part number 2. Welcome back, Ben, and let's talk about how our 12th men's international player have gone for their countries over the last few weeks.
Sure thing, Maddie. And let's start from the back with David Raya, who played 2 full games for Spain in the Nations League as they drew to Serbia 0 and also defeated Switzerland 4-1. Next up, and Thomas Partey played 2 full games for Ghana, where he actually captained his country. The first of those games was a 1-0 defeat to Angola, and the second a 1-1 draw to Niger as part of their AFCON qualification.
Next up, we look at our Polish defender.
Yes, let's go to Poland. Madi Kiwior was withdrawn at half-time of his Poland's team's 3-2 victory over Scotland, where media have reported he was taken off because he was not playing well. It meant that he actually remained benched for the following game, which was a Nations League defeat to Croatia. Also on the bench at the start of the international window was Jurien Timber, but he came off to play 24 minutes of the first game, which was a 5-2 win for his Netherlands team over Bosnia. And then he played the entirety of the second half as Netherlands drew 2 goals apiece with Germany.
And it was a German team that contained Kai Havertz.
Yes, Kai played the full 90 of that game. He also played the full 90 of Germany's 5-0 demolition of Hungary, in which he scored a goal.
Kai Havertz scores again.
He certainly does. Running through the rest, and Gabriel, Big Gabby that is, he played 2 full games for Brazil as part of their World Cup qualifiers. His defending shining particularly in the first game. William Saliba also continues his run in the French team, where he played both games for them in the Nations League. Zinchenko came off the bench and started the other of Ukraine's Nations League games. And for England, Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka played pretty much every minute of the 3 Lions' 2 Nations League games, with Declan scoring and assisting in the first game that they played, which was a 2-0 win against the Republic of Ireland.
Ben, by my counting, there are still 2 to go.
Yeah, Maddie, I'm sort of saving the worst to last.
What has happened, Ben?
Well, Calafiore was a starter for Italy in their first game against France, but he suffered a bit of a freak injury when a player flipping through the air landed on the back of his leg. He has returned back to Arsenal and he did not take any part of Italy's second game.
And I'm worried there's...
Well, Martin Odegaard, he played the full 90 for Norway in their first game as he captained his team to a 0-0 draw to Kazakhstan, but in the second game against Austria, he was subbed off after 67 minutes due to an ankle injury. Media is reporting that he flew back to Arsenal on crutches. It doesn't sound good. I've heard that it's not a fracture, but let's hope he's going to be back ASAP because we are running out of midfielders.
I agree. And finally, Ben, with all our internationals done, we have some players nominated for an award.
Not just any award, Maddie. This is the Ballon d'Or, widely seen as the game's most prestigious individual award. And for the second year in a row, Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard have been shortlisted. And this time they've been joined by men's team players Declan Rice and also William Saliba. Over in the Women's Award and new signing with a new song, Mariona Caldente is a contender, having also been nominated. But we're going to find out how they go when the winners are announced on October 28th at the Theatre du Châtelet in Paris.
Sounds great. Well, let's wrap it up for this episode. Thanks again for joining us at Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Before we sign off, we want to express our gratitude for your continued support. If you haven't already, follow, like, and subscribe so you don't miss us in the future. Remember, your love for the beautiful game is what fuels our passion.
And we would love for you to spread the word about Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Yes, please share our podcast with other Arsenal kids you know and help us to grow this amazing community together.
We hope to join you back in the pitch again soon.
Keep the spirit of the game alive, and until next time,
Goodbye.